Today we're going to learn how to make a lavender Fuseau. In America we know them as Lavender Wand. I'm working with Grosso. It's a lovely variety for this particular craft. Really long stem. Sometimes they can be 24 inches long. Really nice big flower head. The classic Grosso has these side stems. I'll pull those off. I save those little ones. They make a nice little bouquet later time with a ribbon. I'll also remove this space in between here. Let's take those off. I also save those buds. Use them in tea. Use them to strew on the floor. Now, what we're basically doing is weaving a basket. So we want to work with an odd number of stems, an odd number of spokes, and that is what I have here. I actually am going to be working with 22 stems, but in sets of 2. Now I have my ribbon here. I'm working with really wide ribbon today. It goes really fast, so I can show you how this works, and then as you get better at it, 2.5 arm lengths or so. Now if we're to make thirds of this ribbon, we're going to work with 1/3 and 2/3. So a long end and a shorter end. Now we're going to take a minute and make sure all of our flower buds are together and that most of the flowers are down here. We don't have any stragglers up here. We're going to take our ribbon that's been sort of parted into 2/3 and 1/3, and we're going to tie it in a nice square knot. I use my teeth to hold that end. And take a minute. A square knot literally means you're just squaring your material that you're working with. See, so it's square. It comes out square from. Now this is really wide ribbon, so to make that knot nice and small, how we prefer to start working with it, just take a minute and pull on each end, and that's pretty good. Now I've got your long ribbon. This doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed, and your short ribbon, whichever direction. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to weave to the right. Take the short one and just sort of nestle it down inside your blossoms. Now I like to think of it as holding a little bird in my hand. I'll try and take a minute and put all of the blossoms with that short ribbon. And what we're going to do is, from our knot, whether you go left or right, I'm going to take 2 at a time, since I wanted to come out with an odd number. And you can see I sort of pulled to make sure that my flowers are right nudged up against. And I'm going to score it with my thumbnail. Now, these have to be made with fresh lavender in order to be able to bend to do this very important first step. So carefully score it with your thumbnail right here next to the ribbon. You kind of just come in and give it a little pinch. It's like scoring a piece of paper so that it cuts easier, so you can tear it easier. And you can do it a couple times if you want. Carefully pull it down around your flowers. Now, it's important to work in a really methodical manner, especially for your very first one. So just go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to cage this little bird you're holding. You can see I'm scoring with my thumbnail, just pinching 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times from the blossom end, from right at the base of the ribbon, up the stem, but just about a ½ inch or so, and then pulling them over. And I'm working very methodically to make even spokes around this cage here. So you can kind of see when there's another two that would go together. Pinch them together, score them, lay them down. Pinch, 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 lay them down. And you can see how important it is to work methodically around in a circle. And we're continuing to just hold everything in our hand here. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Pull it over. I'm not doing anything with either ribbon. The short one's on the inside, the long one's on the outside. There's another two that kind of go together. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Hold them down. You can see I'm getting to the part where we started, basically. So pinch, 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 and fold them down. Now that particular one, and this is a common thing that happens, you'll see this little joint, it's where I pulled that little bud off. You can see it's broken right there. And it's important to not have a broken stem because it can look really sloppy when you're finished. So go ahead and just break it off. Don't fret. Leave your little stub. You can see your stub end there. And just shove this one right back down in. And you're going to back up a little and join it with that one when it broke. Now just take your time and make your spokes really even. You can see we've got to the point where we started. I'll just pull that aside so you can see a little better. When I have a big gap here, so I see two right there that I can bring down. And we'll bend those down into that space. I still have two up there. I can see a spot where they would make more sense bending down, so I just kind of take my time, even out my spokes, and I'm bringing them right here into this spot. And then I'll even go around again. We've got the short end inside, the long one on the outside, and just even up my spokes so that they're all evenly spaced. This will make for easier weaving. Do you see how these two are rather close? But I have some space in the back here, so just take your time, even them out. And now if this is your first one, be very patient with yourself and try to be methodical and neat and tidy as you can. Now we have a caged bird. It's in a nice, even, spaced, little spoked cage. Now you can see where that big ribbon comes out, the little one's still on the inside. What we're going to do is, we're not going to worry about our little stub there right now. I'll show you how to fix that in a bit. What we literally did was take that broken stem and shoved it back down inside, making sure that that flower's still in there and that this is attached for now. So wherever, whether you go right, being right-handed, or left, being left-handed, wherever your big ribbon comes out, and it's not necessary to have it in any particular place, where it comes out, we're going to go over the first two. So we're working in sets of 2 with 22 or 33 or 66. If you wanted to do singles, 9 is an easy number. 18 would be spokes of 2 each of 9. So just make sure that what you're going to be doing is an odd number. So see what I did there? I came over where my ribbon came out. I come over that first set. Then I pull up that second set of 2. So I'm working with sets of 2. As soon as I've nudged my ribbon up under there, I pull it right back down where they went, as very important on your first run to set everything back where it goes. So then I'm going to go over, under one set, under the next, setting them directly right back where I found them if they pop out of place. Now, some people like to work with the lavender fresh cut from the field, but it has a lot of water in the stems. It's a mint family, so it's mostly water. In fact, lavender will lose 70% of its weight in water as it dries. I find it to have a little bit too much water in the stems, and they're very fragile and they break off really easily. So you see I've gone over, under. I'm going to go over this set. We'll know we have the correct amount of stems when we get to where we started, which is this next spoke. We're not doing anything with the short ribbon. So I'm coming under that next set, which is the first one that I went over. So that's how it should work. If you counted right, like a carpenter, count twice. Count 3 times. Cut once. So this was the first round. I went over that set. Starting my second round, I'm going under that set of spokes. So we know we've done it correctly. We've got the right amount of spokes. So then we just continue. Once you get that first round, you're off and running. It goes fast, and it goes really fast if you're using this wide ribbon. As you get better at it, use smaller ribbon. Shop for ribbon. I've been as far as Paris and San Francisco just to buy ribbon for these projects. I might have a small ribbon addiction. So anyway, here we go. We're going quickly now because it's very easy. I don't have to think about being so methodical. I've set all my spokes where they need to go, evenly spaced on that first round. And our goal is to sort of have a little bit of a bulge in the middle, a little skinnier on the top and skinnier on the bottom. So we're still sort of nudging our spokes about, making sure they're evenly spaced. You can move it quite a bit when it's fresh. And each time I go under a spoke, and you can see I'm sort of having to pull it up out of the lavender as we're going tighter and tighter around. Each time I go under a spoke, I take a minute and sort of give that ribbon a tug, because since it loses so much weight in water, once it dries, it actually makes more space in between the spokes, so things loosen up, just like if you're weaving a basket. The basket doesn't get tighter as it dries, it actually gets looser, so you want to be sure to have it nice and tight as you go around. So you can see we've come almost to where we've covered up all our blossoms. Maybe one more halfway around here. So you kind of have to begin to pull out, and you want to make sure that your ribbon doesn't get twisted as you're going. Lay it nice and flat. Once you get really experienced at this, sometimes you'll have a double-sided ribbon that has a different color on one side than the other, and it's kind of fun to put a twist in and bring out both sides of your ribbon. So like I said, once you get really experienced with this, you can switch it up a bit. You can bring in different size ribbons. You can even attach different ribbons to each other. So you can see that I've got to the bottom, and I have a little bit of a little buckle in my ribbon there. And I'll go back through, and it's alright if, like up here, it's bunched together. That tends to happen, but it sort of adds to the elegance. And I like to make sure that it's up nice and tight. As you can see, I'm just kind of coming back to the parts that I've woven and pulling a little tighter. My short ribbon is still on the inside. My long ribbon is still being the weaver. So I've come through and I've tightened that up a fair amount. Okay, so our long ribbon over here. Take your short ribbon once you finish weaving and take it out the other side. So we've got short, long at this point. It doesn't matter who's who. So take your short ribbon, bring it around. Take your long ribbon, bring it around. So they're both facing you again. And then we're going to tie it off in a knot. Use your teeth again. And do pardon my grumbly old man dog making all the grumbling noises in the background. Okay. And then I like to, if I have plenty of ribbon to work with, let's tie that in a nice square knot. And again, take time to pull this big fat ribbon through so you have a pretty small knot. See how that, as I pulled one side? Okay. So then we have our short ribbon and our long ribbon, and we still have plenty to work with, so that's good. That was about 2.5 arm lengths. I think that makes it about 5 feet of ribbon. Okay, so we're done weaving. You can see how pretty it's come out, especially the striped ribbon. It really adds. We're going to, again, put our short ribbon with the stems, and we're going to hold that all in our hand. And we're going to finish this off with some half hitches. Now that's just a little half knot. So take your long ribbon, come around the front. I use my thumb to hold it out. I go around the back and then come down through, sort of like tying a man's tie. And then just below that knot you tied off, just seesaw back and forth until it tightens up. We're keeping our short ribbon down with the stems. I'm using my thumb. I'm going around the back and coming down through. We'll do that with this fat ribbon about 3 times or so. Seesaw it. Pull it really tight, because remember, everything's going to shrink. And maybe one more time. And with each knot, we're stacking them down the stems. So you're coming down towards the stem bottom and seesaw it until it's good and tight. Now this is such a fat ribbon. Sometimes I'll tie a knot here just to keep everything from moving around, but this is such a fat ribbon, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Then what we're going to do, we got our short one, we got our long one. Let's tie a bow. This is going to look super elegant. It's a lot of ribbon to deal with, but I think once we get it finished, it'll look really swell. And again, let's strive to do that square knot where your bow is coming out this way from your stem. It's not cooperating very well, but one moment, some technical difficulties. Aha. Okay. So, here we have it. Take a second and cut your ribbon. And we're almost finished. What you're going to do then is kind of come back here where your stems are short. Hopefully you're using a nice set of pruners. Not your mother's best sewing scissors. My mother's passed on now. I'm sure she's rolling in her grave. And then come back to that little mistake that you fixed earlier and snip that right off there. No one will be the wiser. And here you have it. A beautiful lavender Fuseau.